Is your brain setting you up for failure? Today's episode is called Looking for Evidence. Our intention is that you begin to bring awareness to how your brain works. So, Kat, you brought this up to me before the podcast saying like you really wanted to talk about this. So give us a little bit of insight as to looking for evidence, what that means, and all the things.
Yeah, I learned about this from a life coach podcast many years ago, and it's such an interesting concept. The idea behind it is that we have thoughts, right, every day, and our brain works like a computer and is scanning our surroundings for evidence that we are right. That is like a natural human state. That's how our brain works. Our brain scans to protect and, to confirm our beliefs and sometimes our biases. And the best example I can give is, let's say that you go to work every day at an office and you believe that your boss doesn't like you. You just got this feeling, you just kind of have this idea. And so all day long, your brain, unbeknownst to you, is scanning for evidence of that. So maybe your boss gave a big sigh in a meeting after you were done talking, or maybe your boss went out to lunch with a coworker and not you. And so you're just storing all of these pieces of information in a file because you believe that and you want to confirm that it's true. But there might be moments where the opposite is happening, but you just kind of ignore those because your brain is trying to make you believe that you're right. And the reason this concept is important is because if your brain is always scanning to confirm your thoughts, well, then it can just as easily confirm good, positive, productive thoughts as it does for the bad ones. And so the idea is to learn how to train your mind to constantly be scanning for the good, for the positives, for the reasons to keep going, right?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think part of what sticks out when you're saying that is we all have those situations, and the word that kept coming up to my brain, which I couldn't find that word easily enough, was always. And I think there's that generality of it's like, this always happens to me, or this, I always miss the bus. I always get left out. I always this. And it's never something like really positive. It's always something in the negatives. Like I'm always the last pick for school activities.
Yeah.
Mental note, I might need to dive into that one a little personally after the episode. But when we're looking at these things, it really is like the words you say aren't coming from out of anywhere. They're coming from your thoughts, your underlying programming. Your brain's going this person doesn't like me. This person doesn't like me. This person doesn't like me. And we would and this is the craziest thing about that is that we would way rather not get invited and go, see, I didn't get invited this time. They do not like me. Then the other 9 times it's like, well, yeah, but they invited you 9 times before that and you said no every time. Yeah. But your brain just isn't registering that.
I want to make a clear distinction between finding evidence and following your instincts. This is very different from you getting this gut feeling that someone's a bad person or that there's red flags in a relationship or something like that. We're not talking about your gut instinct. We are talking about the regular thoughts that you have in your head. And if you are having a hard time and if life isn't going the way you want and you want to improve different areas of your life by 5 years to be the 5-year you, this is just one technique that we like to use to try to change the story in our head. So I don't want everyone to be like, well, I thought he was a bad guy, but maybe I need to look for evidence that he's a good guy. It's like, no, this is not a dating show. No. But instincts are one thing, gut feelings are one thing. We're talking about how you relate to yourself. And
That's right.
Are you choosing thoughts that serve you, or are you choosing thoughts that hurt you?
That's exactly it. And it's a little bit of an eye opener when you start to do it because you kind of have to, you got to take off the blinders and look at yourself and go, okay, how am I really seeing this situation? And is it really the truth or is it the truth that I need to see? There
Right.
is a great expression that I want our listeners to hear, and it's served me for 20 years. So from the day I was born, and I'm 45 people, just for the sake of the reference to that terrible joke I just made. Um, the comment is, the statement is, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy?
Mm.
And sadly enough, most of us would rather be right because it does something in our brains that makes us feel validated, vindicated, whatever. And it makes us miserable.
Yeah.
So it's so weird, but yeah, setting yourself up for failure, looking at all these things is easier. It makes us kind of get trapped in that loop, even though part of ourselves is going like, well, no, I'd rather be happy. Well, yeah, you would probably, but your thoughts that are underlying all this are not supporting that. You have to you have to make a shift, and it doesn't happen overnight, but it just becomes that, you know, I think one of the statements is I can choose happiness over this.
Yeah.
And that is a really powerful statement. But those are the little things that you start to do where you're like, right, I'm just looking for validation here. This isn't actually what's happening.
Yeah.
I'm
And
going to
you get
choose
to
happiness.
choose. And you get to choose the words that you use to describe yourself in your own head, too, right?
Mm.
You get to choose between feast and famine. You get to choose between victim, survivor. Just to give like another example from my own life, one thing I always joke about, and this is me being self-reflective, and this is what we are encouraging you to do as listeners, is I always say like, oh, I'm the worst at housework. I'm a mess because I put it last, right? I put work first and, the
Mhm.
babies first and and I get to the end of the day and I'm like, whatever, sleep over dishes. And so I kind of perpetuate this thing like, I'm a mess, I'm a mess, I'm a mess. Well, what happens? I keep being a mess. I
Right.
create my own evidence to support the fact that I have trouble keeping my house up. And if I look really deep within me, I can say, well, Catherine, are you being a little victimy? Are you being like, poor me, I'm a single mom, I don't have any help. These kids need to learn how to, help me with the laundry. Oh my gosh, no one helps me in this house. Like, what am I doing to perpetuate this thought? So not only do we look for evidence, sometimes we create our own evidence because we want that to be true, because it serves
Yeah.
some sort of need. It provides some type of excuse. And I see that in a lot of different categories for me.
I see it in myself too. I mean, I think when we are doing those things, I mean, a lot of this stuff is decades and decades long. Sometimes it's
Mm.
generational stuff
Right.
too that we're not even consciously aware of until a conversation like this happens or somebody points out and goes, "Do you know that you always say that?"
Yeah.
And you go, like, "Do you know that you always say your house is a mess?" And you're like, yeah, no, I never noticed that. And like, like your house is actually pretty clean. Like you haven't seen a truly messy house. You think yours is messy because you have a vision of what it should be, but it's actually a really clean place. And then when you make that little shift, then you start to look for more evidence on that. And it's like, yeah, my countertops are really clean. Oh my gosh, clean countertops are like 90% of a
Yeah.
clean house.
Visual. Yeah.
That is a great stat, by the way. It's not accurate, but it's a great
That
stat
you just completely made up. Beautiful.
that I just conclude. Catherine, 98.6% of stats are made up on the spot, and that is something you can take to the bank.
All right.
But if you're looking for all the things that reinforce something and your brain is doing this is fantastic news. I mean, you start to come out of it and go, okay, what
I
is
can think
actually
whatever
going
I
on?
want.
I can think whatever I want. I can look for this. I can look for that. I used to have a terrible, and I mean absolutely terrible. I don't even know what the right word is. Ouch. Well, there's a complex that just got. And this is how complexes are formed in people. That's all
Issue,
it takes. You just need to
problem. I
pause.
mean, this is a long
And
pause.
yeah, it was a very long pause, and I'm very regretting it right now. I'm going to need to
So
shower
sorry. I
so many
was
more times today. Um,
I, I was just
and
making a
just
joke,
just so
but
everybody's clear who's listening, Catherine and I are in different countries. And for her to say this is like, I'm like, dang, she can smell that from here? Oof, all right.
like, I
Well,
thought I
okay.
was in my place by myself.
I'm like, okay, gotta burn more candles or air freshener or deodorant or
You
something.
can do like my son and just spray Axe all over yourself. You know,
Perfect.
that's the
Actually, what I
oldest
was
trick
gonna
in the
say
book.
was I continuously told myself I was unlucky. And it was,
Mm,
like people would be like, do you want to buy a 50-50 ticket? Which are like, half goes to
yeah,
the club, half goes to the winner. And I was always like, why bother doing this? I may as well just give like the $10 to the club rather than even try to get five back myself.
mm,
And then and you and I've talked about this offset, but I did some work around that with theta work, theta healing work, and energy work. And then everything started to change. Suddenly I was winning the 50-50s,
yeah,
and I was like, and I told you I recently won a trip like to anywhere in the world. And I'm like,
so
this,
cool.
and part of me wants to say this doesn't happen to me because
I
that
know.
is,
This see,
yeah,
that's the pattern. That's the trench. So
exactly. So, but now when I'm buying stuff, I mean, I don't do lottery or anything like that. If I do, maybe it's once a year. And now I'm like, I always win these things. And I'm just telling myself this more and more
yeah.
because I'm trying to look for more proof for it. But I'm saying this too to make people realize that it's not like a switch. It's more of like a dimmer, right? And you got to just you start looking for proof for other things. You start finding, and as you do that, you're going to see a lot of proof. As more proof comes in, it's going to expand and you're going to feel better and better and better. And that's what we want for you. We want you to start seeing the little successes because 5 years can feel like a long time in the day to day. And if you aren't looking for those little micro changes, those little things, you're you're not going to progress as fast as you might want to. But when you start to look for those things and you see them, it's like you're just shifting 1 degree at a time, and suddenly you're going 180 degrees from the way you were. And it didn't take you that long. It just took a few little switches, one day at a time. And that's a big difference in your life.
This is really a mindset exercise, and you can
Yeah.
apply this to so many different areas of your life. We talk about money mindset a lot, and one of the first things that we ask people is, well, what do you think about rich people? And if you have the thought and the belief that rich people are evil and they, steal from the poor,
Greedy.
they're
Yeah.
greedy, well, then you're going to look for evidence of that. You're going to be cut off by a really nice car while you're driving. You're going to be like, jerk, rich jerk, or whatever. But there's an equal amount of evidence of very wealthy people being incredibly generous, doing all sorts of things with their money. I mean, you could pull up just as many examples, right? So it's sort of your choice how
Yeah.
you want to see it. And your brain doesn't want to become the things that you don't like. So if you are always saying, oh, rich people are jerks, well, you're going to actively take steps subconsciously to not become that. Because why would you want to become somebody who's a jerk? And so
It's a really good
we're
point.
inviting you to think very carefully about who you want to become within the next 5 years. What process do you want to go through? What do you want to look like? How do you want to act and behave? And then, continuously monitor your thoughts anytime you think something that is contrary to that, because that's a block to the person you want to be.
Yeah. And your language is going to tip you off to, um, I mentioned the always statement,
Yeah.
but you don't even need to say stuff. You can just be around someone. Like when you said rich person, I had like just a little switch, and
Yeah.
I noticed it because I've had to do work on this area.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm way better than I ever have been before. But sometimes these things are like, they are in there from childhood and generational things. And you have to look at them and go like, oh, why did I feel like that? Why did I feel like that when this person came towards me? Why did I feel like this when this other person won? And I think that's another
Yeah.
big one is
Mm.
when you see somebody winning something. So everybody, like for the listener that's hearing, when I said I won a trip,
Yeah.
what was your thought there? Did you think, huh, must be nice? Or did you think, wow, that is so good. I'm so happy for you. Or did you think that never happens to me? What was the thought there?
Mm.
Because there was one, there always is. We're always thinking. And that will tell you, that one statement could tell you so much about your abundance mindset if you're looking for success, if you're looking for failure. Because the reality is, if you looked at that and you thought, must be nice jerk, well, it's a little hurtful, but that's okay.
A little
And
bit harsh.
but here's the kicker. You will never get to experience those things and enjoy them
Yeah.
because you are having that experience. You are thinking people who win things are jerks. That's it. So, and if you thought, man, I really just love you because like you're such a lucky and fantastic person, well, that means you're a lovely and fantastic person. It has nothing to
If
do
you
with me.
thought, can
My
I
experience.
come? Then you thought the same thing as me.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a whole bunch of emails like, "Can I come on the trip?" And
Yeah.
no,
I
it's
don't
yeah.
know you will, but
But thanks for
yeah.
reaching out. We always like to hear from you.
Yeah.
So yeah, my point in saying this is we always talk about getting out of the painting, right? Like stepping out of your head and kind of looking like and going, okay, look at what Andrew's thinking, look what Kat's thinking. What am I thinking
Mm-hmm.
about this topic? And it can be anything. And if you are wanting to be this person that 5 years from now is massively abundant, success focused, and you're not that way today, that's great because that means you've noticed it. And once you bring awareness to something, you can begin to change. And there's over a million different ways to get there. We're not going to get into those today. But the biggest thing is going, okay, I want to be successful. I want to be happy. I don't want to be right. Okay, great. Next conversation you have with someone where you're arguing to the bone about how this thing has to be this way, step back and go, you know what? I'd rather be happy. I'm just going to stand back and let this person believe what they believe because they're going to do it anyway. You don't have to convince the world of anything. You
Right.
just have to be your best version of yourself, your true self, your authentic self.
I love that. So, our hope for you is that maybe we encouraged you to have a little bit more self reflection. And your homework, should you choose to accept your mission, is to simply monitor your thoughts at first and try to
Yeah,
find what types of evidence you're collecting for different things in your life and challenge yourself to find a different version of your story.
I love that. As a little bit extra, Kat, what are you going to examine for yourself?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely working on money mindset issues. I wouldn't say issues, I've definitely run the full gamut. And so I'm getting ready to move and I'm getting ready to like shift around some priorities. And I am going to look for evidence that I am somebody who can be wealthy. I'm on the path to wealth. I'm excellent with money. And maybe I will also tackle my good with laundry thoughts. Maybe I will be the best laundry folder on the planet. You never know. It could happen.
Wow. I've known you a long time, and I think that's a great. The money thing, I'm like, yeah, you got that, but the
Yeah,
laundry thing, I want us to report back on this.
you're like, she wrote a money book. Easy. Laundry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's good. I like that.
How about you?
I
What are you
think
going to work on?
what I'm going to work on, um, is that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be,
Mm.
and I feel like You've known me a long time. And I feel like I always want to be further ahead. And I think a lot of us feel that way. But when I am feeling further ahead, I feel like I'm not where I'm supposed to be in this moment. And the truth is, I'm supposed to be here. I should be present. I shouldn't be thinking about whatever I have to do later or what I can do to get to where I want to be. I understand that the energy I have in being present is going to be the most important thing. And so I am a present person, and that's the thing that I'm definitely not. And I really want to bring that into my reality because I think by being present with myself and with others, that's really the best gift. That's why they call it the present. Boom, boom.
Ta-da. Actually, that is a very good segue to my glimmer for this week.
Oh,
So is it okay if I shift to the glimmers now?
yeah, I was going to Google what a segue is, but you go ahead.
Every day, folks. Yes, good segue. So here are the glimmers. So glimmers, glimmers are the sparkly, happy things that we want to share with you. It could be a book that we're reading, an app that we're trying, or just something that made us smile, something we want to share with you. And my glimmer really relates to what you just said. So every night before dinner with my twins, we always say what we're grateful for that day. That's like our form of grace. That's our, thing to just, I thought I was doing good. We've been doing what are you grateful for years and years and years. But I have noticed that all of us could use a little bit of exercising the contentment muscle. And I'm really glad I brought this up to my kids because I said, okay, in addition to what are you grateful for, I also want you to say, what are you content with? And my son said, well, what does that mean? And I realized like being content, the concept of contentment might actually be something that has to be taught. And so I explained that it's when you're happy with what you have and you're not constantly wanting something else. And so I said, so I'll give the example. I'm content with my car. I have a old car. It is 11 years old. It's completely paid for. Could I go out and buy a new car? Yes. Could I go out and buy a really nice new car? Yup. With a nice big car note. And I don't want to do that. So I'm content with my car. Yes, she got issues, but she's great. She works. I maintain her. All is well. And so I got the kids to say something that they were content with. It was really good exercise. I'm going to try it. I don't know if every single day because, but it really is different from gratitude. Contentment is like a whole different ball game. So that is my glimmer, something I'm really happy I tried and would recommend.
That is awesome. First of all, it's awesome that you get to explain that to your children and they're getting to explore that concept when they haven't discovered it yet.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I think as a parent, we forget how much our kids don't know. And I think, like they go off to school and they do all their things and, we just assume that they're learning sometimes that they just know the things that we've known forever or that we learned. And they're just running subconsciously. But that contentment one is a big thing. So like good on you to see it and to now give your kids, again, this ties into it. You're looking for evidence as to what to be content for, because
That's right.
it's a mindset shift of being like, look, I want lots of things, but I'm also, if I don't get any of those things, I'm still really good.
Right.
I'm great. I'm happy where I am.
I
So I love
your
that.
glimmer?
I absolutely love that. My glimmer is super shallow. I was, I went and bought myself an infrared sauna, like a little pop-up tent.
That's not shallow.
Sauna.
That's cool.
It is. But I mean, like you always do this where, see, I'm using the word always, folks. You see how I'm not bringing these things full circle, but
you caught yourself.
You have like, one of us usually has like this really, really nice heartfelt one. And the other one's like, I got a thing.
I like stuff.
I like stuff. So, but for me, what, I'm really into making sure my health is optimal in the last couple of months.
Super good for your health. I don't think that's
It
bad at
is,
all.
and I've been enjoying it. There's a whole bunch of benefits to far infrared saunas and whatnot, and I like that it's like collapsible. So, I mean, in theory, I could travel with it. I'm not going to, but I like that. If I need to make the space, it's not like this permanent structure that I have to adjust in the
Right.
condo by any means. So, really, really grateful for that. I think it's been part of my nighttime routine as far as like kind of I go in, I have a nice sauna, shower, get ready for bed, and it's just like this new part of my nighttime routine because sleep is the most important thing for me. So I've been really enjoying that the last few weeks since I got it, to the point where I didn't get around to doing it the last few days, and I really really
You
missed it.
notice
And
the
then I had it,
difference?
yeah. And then last night I had it, and like my deep sleep was like 2 hours, my REM was 2 hours. It just really 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 helps. Hey, one last thing. Don't forget to go to 5yearyou.com/future to start getting those emails from your future self. It will change your life.
Hey guys, quick disclaimer. We're podcasters on the internet. If you need to seek professional help, please go see your healthcare professional.